All right, hello. I did not think about what I wanted to say in this at all up until just now. So, hello, welcome. Thank you for joining. So, like the title of this says, I'm basically going to be trying to vibe code as much of a game as I can in 2 hours. It's going to be probably like a top-down, classic style video game. Loosely based on like Legend of Zelda or Final Fantasy or something like that. The reason I am doing this is because I think that the ability to create these tiny programs or games is number one, it's super fun. It's really like an exciting, fun thing to do. And number two, I just think that it's a really powerful thing also, and it's totally worth looking into, and it's super easy to get started. So, starting off, hello from Brazil. I am going to be using Google Gemini for this to vibe code this game, and I will just be talking through my process. Hopefully it's pretty easy to follow. So the first thing I have is Google Gemini open here. I also use Cursor for the coding. I don't use the AI part of Cursor because I don't want to pay for it, but it's a great way to just manage all of your files because you do need several files for this. But the short version of this is you can basically create any sort of video game just by prompting Gemini using some specific commands. So I'll do an example first, and then I'll get into like the actual coding the game. So an example here would be I have Google Gemini open here, and the key way that I've been doing this, I'm a web developer, web designer, graphic designer, so what I use is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And that's a really powerful set of tools that you can use to just get something up and running really fast that will run on most computers, as long as you have an internet browser. So the first thing I'm going to do is just kind of a proof of how easy and fast this is. So make a Pong style video game that I can play in browser using HTML, CSS, and JS in one file. So this is a really simple prompt, and ideally you would have a lot more of a complicated one, which is what I will get into in the second part of this. But as you can see, it's kind of just setting up this whole thing. So it uses HTML as the building blocks of the program. Then it uses CSS to style anything, so colors, shapes, things like that are usually defined in CSS by the color or whatever it is. And then the last thing is the JavaScript, which is how it actually saves, moves things around, stuff like that. So as you can see, we already have this going. It actually says there's a problem with it. So I'll go to the code view, and I'm going to just select this. And now that I have my file, I have it copied here. And so I can just create a new file in Cursor and paste it in. So this is our first iteration of any game. And I'll make a new folder called GameStream. And this is called pong.html, so I'm saving that, and I'll reveal that in my Finder. And now we have this Pong game. It says move your mouse to control the left paddle. And I do see that it's not working. Why isn't it working? So generally this shouldn't happen, but you know, first try. Very importantly, I gave it a really vague prompt. I was really lazy and wrote like barely a sentence, not even a sentence. I didn't even have a period at the end. So when you have something not working, all AI really wants to know is how did it break, and you can't see that. So if something breaks, you just right-click and inspect, or whatever your browser's version of the inspector is. It'll open up this set of tools here. And the one we want to look at is console. And this is mainly to do with JavaScript. So here we see a couple of errors. So I'll just copy these and paste these into Gemini. Whoops. So yeah, you just got to select these in the console here. And then I copy and paste them into Gemini. And then it'll usually just kind of fix whatever issue happened. So at this point I should mention, I'm not an experienced developer by any means. I work with websites all day, but I don't necessarily program a whole lot. So I deal with the visual side of it, making it look nice. So the programming side of it, I'm relying on Gemini 100%. And all I can do is kind of tell it what broke, how did it break, help me. So we have this. It has updated the code, and hopefully this one will work. If it doesn't work, we'll just have to move on. So I've copied it, and I'm pasting it. I did that a little fast. So I'll go to the Gemini page. There's a little copy button. Any other AI program will have this too. Go back into my pong.html in cursor and just paste the new text in. All right, I'm not doing anything here. I'm just copying and pasting. Now I have RetroPong up in my browser, and I'll have to refresh it so that it reloads, and hopefully the issue is fixed. So it says start game. Oh yeah. And so you can see here, this works. It looks great. And it took maybe a sentence. And it even added some retro styling, which is really cool. Okay, well, we're tied, but I'm going to have to end it here because I don't think anything else will happen. I think it'll just keep going up. The number will just keep going up. So that's where the details come in. All I said is make a Pong game. I didn't say make a Pong game where you need 5 points to win or anything like that. So when you're writing a prompt for anything, but especially with coding, you want to be really, really precise because we don't especially want the AI to imagine a whole lot. We kind of want to have that creative side of it in general. I mean, maybe you do like AI to be creative, but when an AI starts getting creative with how a program works, it might not tell you exactly what it's doing. So it is super important to just be very specific with what you want and don't leave a lot of room for interpretation if you can help it. Because sometimes AI will still do a great job even interpreting your idea, but most of the time any room for interpretation ends up with unwanted features or bugs or just breaks the whole thing. So the key is to be very specific, and it'll take some practice, but ideally, as long as you are very specific with your prompt and you have a system, I use the HTML and JavaScript and CSS, but whatever you're comfortable with, as long as you have a system of managing the files and you have a very good concept of what you want, where you've ironed out all the kinks of the concept itself, that's really all you need. And hang on, I'm seeing like a streaming issue. I wonder what's going on with that. Hang on. Okay, well, hopefully this doesn't mess anything up. I'm not going to get too sidetracked by that. If it looks really terrible, please let me know. But I think we're good for now. Okay, so we made the Pong game. Great. That was not hard. All it took was I did an initial prompt. I said make a Pong style video game that I can play in the browser using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript in one file. It gave me a broken file. I pasted the result of the error from the console into Gemini. I didn't even explain myself. I just pasted that error and it knew exactly what was going on. And then it gave me the full correct script. So that's a really good indicator that this is, it's very powerful. You can easily create lots of things. So let's make this video game. So I'm going to open up a new program actually, or yeah, I'll open up a different thing. So, well, just as another example here, I want to make a Notepad app for browser using HTML, CSS, and JS. Now, this is the way I do this. You can use other languages. This is just what I'm comfortable with. You can use whatever works for you. So I just said I want to make a Notepad app for a browser using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And now I'm letting it think. And it'll just take a second. This is taking a while. But it's making a whole app. I mean, you know, what are you going to do? And it looks amazing. So I'll go to the code view here. I'm just going to copy all this. And I'm just going to paste it into my Pong document. I don't really care about the Pong game. So now I have pong.html, which is actually my Notepad. So I guess I'll change the file name to Notepad. All right, and then I'll open that. It opens in my browser automatically. And here's the Notepad that it just made. So I'll create a new note. Oh, it doesn't work. That's funny. So this brings me to another good point, actually. There are lots of potential apps that you can make, and you're not really limited by anything. For me personally, I try to keep these files running locally on my computer and not relying on external APIs if I can help it, or other things like that. You absolutely can integrate them. Gemini's great at it. But in this case, I try to keep it all running locally because it's a lot easier to figure out what's going wrong. Once you add network, there's a lot more problems. I'm by no means an experienced developer, so I just try to keep it local. But just like asking for specific languages, asking for a specific, asking for like a specific, asking for it to stay local is a really good idea. So it just makes things simpler. I shouldn't say it's a good idea. It just makes things simpler. So, I have this Notepad app. I'm just going to basically complain to Gemini. I need this to run locally on my computer without internet. And this will basically make it use your browser's local storage, which is just a lot easier to deal with. It's kind of funny creating HTML files with no intention of deploying them using networking, but this is just the easiest and fastest way to do this that I've come across. Alright, so now we have the code for our Note app. So I'm going to open up the Notepad HTML file with cursor again, paste in the new file, and refresh. And now you can see this is actually working. Not only is it working, it has a delete feature, it has a new note feature, it has everything that you could possibly want in a note app that you made in 5 minutes. So my goal here is to make this like a top-down RPG style game, but as you can see, I already made this Pong game, or I should say Gemini made this Pong game, and Gemini also made this local Notepad app. And I think it is good to remember that this is like built on the work of pretty much every developer ever, and then was chewed up by AI, and now it's really good at writing code. So here I have my notepad, and I want this notepad to make some notes for my game. So let's make a new note. And on this new note, I'll give it a title. RPG for YouTube. There we go. And now I'll start writing some info. So what I like to do is write up my prompt before I actually go into Gemini, because I have written a prompt so long it has caused Gemini to crash. So I try not to rely on Gemini to keep that text for me. So definitely, if you're writing a long and complex prompt, write it outside of your LLM and then paste it in when you're ready. You could also use this technique to get different LLMs to do the same project for you and see which one you like the most. Alright, so we have our RPG for YouTube. And now what I need to do, this is probably the longest part of the whole thing, the part that takes the most labor on your side, on my side, is actually coming up with the concept. So in this case, I'm just going to go off of a lot of classic RPGs and kind of try to copy that style. So I'll start with that. So I want to actually, let's talk about the structure of the prompt. So the structure of the prompt should be like this. First, you need to establish the AI's personality. This thing is waiting for you to tell it what it's supposed to do. And how you do that is you tell it who it is, essentially. So for this instance, I might say, you're a great game designer, or something like that. So let's start there. Establish a Gemini or a AI that will give, that will be like the ideal candidate. If it was a person, imagine the ideal candidate that you would want to build your project, and write that down, and then Gemini will try to play that role, or your AI will try to play that role. So I'll start with this. You are a prolific game designer and developer of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, locally run games. And now here you can see I'm already putting my own preferences in. I'm saying HTML, CSS, JS. That doesn't have to be what you use, but that's the easiest for me. Locally run, another thing that's just easy for me. You can ask it to have online features, but that'll get really complicated really fast. So locally run things are the easiest to just draft up really fast. So we have the beginnings of our prompt here, and I'm going to keep trying to come up with different things that I want this Gemini to be defined as. So prolific game designer with a history of creating RPGs. You are an expert in game development. HTML, CSS, JS coding, and iterative problem solving. And I'm adding this because we might have some issues where the AI has a glitch, or I should say makes a game with an issue or a bug. This is just the nature of working with anyone or making anything. There will always be issues. So now I have the definition of what this Gemini is. It's a great game designer. So the next part of my prompt will be introducing the style of game that we're making. So I'm going to define, first I define Gemini as a whole, then I define the type of game I'm trying to make, then I'll define the specifics of the parts of the game, and then I'll have to define very specific things inside of the game just to give it all a sense of not letting the AI be too creative about how to solve some of these problems. So the next stage here would be to define the basic genre of the game. So first I'm defining RPG, Super Nintendo game, like Zelda or Final Fantasy, which are some of my favorite games. And so we've defined a little bit about what type of game we want to make. And now this part might be a little bit boring. I have to actually define like tons of specifics about how the game will work. So I'm going to type for a while. I'll say something, hopefully explaining a little bit of what I'm doing. I'll type some more. This will be a kind of a quieter part of the video, but hopefully you can see what I'm writing, and it'll give you an idea of what you might write for your own projects. Okay, so so far I have a little summary of what I want the game to look like here. I'm going to keep writing about this, but I just wanted to take a second to kind of note. So I'm calling out Super Nintendo games. I'm saying it's top-down style adventure. I say when the player gains XP for defeating enemies, discovering new areas, unlocking doors, getting special items. So in this way, I'm kind of defining a little bit of the gameplay of this game. Because when I say a top-down style adventure, you might already think of coins or enemies or something like that. But it's very important that we actually call out the specific mechanics that we're imagining. Because yes, the AI can just kind of come up with some of that on its own. It'll use its imagination, but you can't rely on that too much because you just have no idea what it might throw in there, or if it will even work, or if it's even the type of game you want to make. So I've defined a few things like the player gets XP for defeating enemies. I've specified that the game's top-down, that there will be various environments and enemies to encounter. I've specified that the player must fight their way through enemies to get to the final chalice, which will complete the game. So that's like kind of my games like Triforce or Super Mario Star. This is like the end of the game special thing that you get. So now I've defined like the broad strokes of this game. So now I'm going to get into some of the details. What's the player? What are some of the enemies? What are some of the items you can get? What happens when you level up? These things need to be defined, or else the AI will just go off and do its own thing, which is great. But if you really want to have a lot of creative control over this, you need to call out all the specific things that you can think of. So I've typed out quite a bit here. The next thing I'm going to do is explain the characters, I think. So I'll hit return a couple times, then say characters. Number 1, player. Uses a sword and uses a sword for short range combat and a staff for long range projectiles. Or actually I'll say a staff that shoots long range projectiles. Alright. So now we have this, and that's a good start. I'd also like to call out how you actually use these abilities. So the player moves with the arrow keys, swings the sword with the Z button, and shoots projectiles with the X button. Okay, so the player can do those things. Let's try something else. The player can also dodge using the spacebar plus, and I did that caps just to emphasize because it's a little bit weird of a request. Maybe I'll just use a plus right next to it. Arrow key. No, I'll say plus. It looks too weird. And I'm trying to write this out as if I would want to receive this as real instructions. If I could develop a whole game like this, I would want the person to be very specific about how this all works. So, got to be specific. The player can also dodge using the spacebar plus an arrow key to dodge in that direction. While in a dodge animation, the player cannot be hurt. So I've been playing a lot of Elden Ring. Love the dodging. Okay, so we have the player cannot get hurt. There we go. I think that's good enough. The player is green. So one important thing here is that this player is going to be a square. Most of this will be squares and circles because I'm trying to develop the game in 2 hours, not create all the assets in 2 hours. You can certainly use other AI for that, but I'm just trying to get this working. Adding assets adds a ton of new issues. So, you know, I guess it would have been better to be a car or a spaceship that happens to be a rectangle, but I wanted to make like an adventure style game. So we have our player is defined. 2, enemy 1, let's just call it. And let's call this one a bubble. A spherical enemy that slowly floats toward the player. The bubbles are varied shades of blue. If the bubble touches the player, this brings up a good point. We need to make sure that we know how damage is calculated, because that is a very specific type of thing. And you know, your computer might think you should take 100 points of damage when you think players can only handle maybe 2 points of damage. So something to think about. So let's go back to the player, and I'm going to say player starts with 20 HP. Player starts with 20 HP. Player can increase HP limit by getting certain items. Player can regenerate HP. Over time. Player also has 10 MP, and actually, just for the sake of the AI here, I'm going to define health points and magic points. So make sure you're like describing this like to an alien who's never played a game before. Be very specific. Shooting a projectile costs 1 magic point. Player gets back 1 magic point per 3 seconds. Maxing out at... Actually, I'm not going to say maxing out at 10 because I want the player to possibly be able to get more magic power too. So, just doing a time check. What do we got? 30 minutes or so in? Okay. So now we've defined some more things about the player, which is that they start with hit points, magic points, and what happens to those. If the bubble touches the player will lose 3 HP. This brings up another good point. if the player gets hit, we need to figure out what happens there. So I'm going to go back to the player again and say if the player takes damage, they do a small bounce animation and get moved slightly away from their current position. The player can only be hit 2 times per second. I'll say 1 time per second. I'm not trying to make the hardest game ever. Okay, so now we have that. Let's go back to if the bubble touches the player loses 3 HP. The bubble has 5 HP. Sword attacks do 1 HP of damage to the bubble. And actually, let me go back here. Sword attacks by the player do 1 HP of damage to the bubble. Projectile attacks by the player do 3 HP of damage to the bubble. Okay, so now we have a little bit more info here. I'm going to move on from this one. Let's go number 3. Enemy 2, wizard. A wobbly enemy. I don't know what that means, but it'll add some visual characteristics to this thing beyond being a square. That shoots projectiles at the character, at the player. The wizard can shoot 1 projectile per 3 seconds. The wizard's projectile does 5 damage to the player if they are hit by the projectile. All right. Sword attacks by the player do 5 damage to the wizard. The wizard has, let's say, 8 HP. I've been saying 5 damage. I gotta say 5 HP. Make sure it doesn't make some sort of other counting metric. Okay, so we've got the wizard has 8 HP. Projectiles do 2 HP. Projectiles from the player do 2 HP of damage to the wizard. There's definitely something to be said about structuring all of this. There's probably a better way to structure this to not have to repeat yourself. That's something that programmers would be very aware of. But in this case, I'm just trying to vibe it out. So we have the wizard. We also have, let's do enemy 3 will be a wolf. fast enemy that tries to bite the player. Touching the wolf does not do damage, but if the wolf bites, it does 6 damage to the player. The wolf must be touching the player in order to successfully bite the player. The wolf has 10 HP. And takes 3 and let me see. Sword attacks by the player do let's say 3 HP damage to the wolf. And I do want to mention, like, being very specific with your language is important. In this case, I am kind of trying to press for time, so I'm just going to keep it up and just try not to worry too much about the specifics of this. Alright, so sword attacks by the player do 3 HP of damage. Let's continue here. Number 5 will be enemy 4. And this will be the boss. A very large enemy that shoots multiple projectiles in a radial pattern, getting hit by one of these projectiles takes 10 health from the player. The boss has 100 HP. The boss takes 5 damage from 5 HP of damage from the sword attacks. The boss takes 7 damage from projectile attacks, player projectile attacks. So I think actually I'm going to make it a little weaker to attack the with the sword. So you kind of have to attack with the projectiles for the last fight. So we have 4 different enemies, or 4 different enemies and the player. Next, I want to add some other characters that are not just enemies. So let's add friend 1. And we'll call him Al. An NPC that you meet in the first screen town of the game. He gives you a sword that is slightly stronger than the sword you start with. Alright. Great. Let's do another friend. Friend 2. Say Bev. And an NPC that you meet in a secondary town. She gives you a better staff that has a slightly faster recharge rate. And this is definitely something that you might change, but I'm just trying to get all these ideas out as fast as I can and see what the first shot actually looks like. Alright, I'm going to try something weird here. I have one named Miscellaneous. Various NPCs you meet throughout the world with different personalities and quirks. And the last one I'll do here is Chalice Keeper, and this one will be NPC in the final Chalice room who congratulates you on your win. Okay, so I think we have a good amount of characters now. So in the interest of just moving this forward, I think I'm just going to take this and run with it. So here's the second part. I've set up my whole story here. Very basic, but it took kind of a while to write it all out. Now I'm going to copy and let's create a new instance of Gemini. So I'm in Gemini here. I'm going to create a new one. Here's my fresh version. And I explained at first that I wanted to make sure that the prompt was good and that it correctly showed Gemini as being an expert in this field. So the next part of this is I'm going to paste my prompt into Gemini, but I'm actually going to ask Gemini to expand on this. So I wrote as much as I really felt like I could in this amount of time. And so now I'm going to paste what I wrote in, but I'm going to preface it by saying, "Hi Gemini, I need your help creating a super prompt for another Gemini instance that I will be asking to create a expansive game for me. I want this game to run using HTML, CSS, JS, to run locally on my file system, and I want you to fill in all the gaps in the following prompt. Spare no expense in your detailing of this game's world, how the other Gemini instance can add dialogue and nuance to game systems and characters, and most importantly, specify all details of the game's inner workings. Okay. Here's what I have so far. And now I'll give it what I already wrote down. So this guarantees that you know, this Gemini will really flesh out the concept that I've already written. And from here, I'll take what this one gives me, and I'll actually paste that one into a whole new Gemini instance. So I'm just waiting for this one to load. And in the meantime, I'll create a new note called Gemini's Super Prompt. Okay. This Notes app is really nice. Okay. And so now it has come up with a lot of more information, and you can see how it has taken my basic idea, such as things like enemy bubble, a spherical enemy that slowly floats and does certain damages. Now we look at Gemini's version of it, and we will be able to see that there is a nice breakdown of how all of these will actually work. So you can also see that Gemini is now specifying for the next iteration all enemies should have base properties like XY, HP, max HP, and a state. So it's building out these development concepts for me so that the final prompt is much more comprehensive and friendly to a developer. So if you know a developer, you could just send them this instead of asking Gemini to do it, but I think they might not like that. So now I have this whole super prompt, so I'm just going to copy this whole thing, and then I'm going to paste it into Gemini's super prompt, just so that I have that saved. And let's create a new chat. I'll paste in that prompt. And I'm also going to say, please only use HTML, CSS, and JS files to accomplish this goal, as I want to run this on my local file system. Alright, and now we let it cook for a bit. So this might take a while. Starting out with the HTML. And so this brings me to cursor. So I'll close that Notepad one that I was working on. Create a new file in cursor. And I should mention, like, you don't have to use cursor. You can literally use your text editor, save a TXT file, and then rename it to HTML or CSS or whatever it is. But for bigger projects like this, I definitely recommend using cursor or VS Code or just something where you can easily manage all these different types of text files. So it actually looks like it's pasting this all into one document, which is super insane. But this is a good start. I should have specified that I want this in separate files rather than all one file. But if it can do it, that's really impressive. Basically after this, I'm sure there will be some bugs. So I'll run this, log some bugs, see what I need to fix, and then I'm going to paste that into a whole new Gemini. The reason I keep starting new ones is because I find that if you use the same instance of any AI, whether it's Gemini or GPT or any of those, the memory starts to get a little messy, especially when you're asking it to juggle, 600 different functions in a game. It's going to understandably forget about a couple of those. So as you can see, we're still generating. This is a huge, huge program. I'm asking it to basically, paste an entire Super Nintendo game into the chat. But it looks like it's done. So let's see what this looks like. So I copied it to the clipboard, pasting here. This is 1,300 lines of code. So I'm going to call this chalice dot. It wants to save as a JS document, but it will not be one because this is wrapped in HTML. All right. So now we have our chalice.html right here next to Notepad, and I'm going to open it up. And here's our game. I'm a little green guy. I can walk around. I can, in fact, shoot. I don't see the sword when I hit Z. It doesn't look like there's a sword there. I'm looking around. The dodge feature does sort of work, which is cool. Not really sure how to talk to someone, actually. Let me look in the chat here. All right. Oh, okay. Interact is E. I called the code a chat, but maybe it will be like that soon. Okay. There we go. And all I said was Al gives you a sword, and the AI came up with all this text for it. This is really amazing. This is the first time I've seen any of this text, so it's kind of funny. So now I have a sword apparently. I still don't see it anywhere, but I'll just have to trust that I do have one. I'm also noticing I can't really leave. I'm not really seeing any doors. So I can't get out of here. Let me see if there's any way to leave the first room. This is really interesting. You can see the whole town. All right. So let's ask Gemini how the heck I actually get to the next area, because it seems like I can't leave. How does the character leave the first village? By walking north off screen. Is that so? I can't walk north off screen though. So this is kind of the interesting types of things that you'll find, but let's see. This is funny. So yeah, it apparently thinks that walking up off the screen will let you out. That really doesn't seem to be the case. So I'm going to ask for a revision here. and this is a good opportunity for me to also ask for some other edits. So I mean, really, the whole game seems pretty great. I mean, it's not the most amazing thing I've ever played, but it's surprising how far it got with as little info as I gave. And if I talk to Al, he says, "You already have my gift." So I mean, this really is pretty fleshed out, but for whatever reason I can't exit. So let me explain that. Gemini or other AIs will be able to edit the code for you, but the more times you ask for new iterations, the more likely it'll get mixed up with what version you're on, just like a person. So first I'm saying, please provide this in multiple files for ease of editing. This way, if there's a problem with an enemy, we won't see us having to regen the whole code because we just want to change the color of something. So I'm asking it for multiple files for ease of editing. The player cannot exit the first area. Be sure that all exits and entrances are fully functional, and consider and are part of a larger unified layout. Also, I cannot see the sword attack. Please add a visual indicator for that, and add some effects like shading and textures to make the environments and characters more interesting. Make character a glowing, a white square that glows blue. It's kind of hard for me to see the character. So after playing a little bit, I liked it, but I found some things that I wanted to change, such as I can't leave. That's a big one. I can't see the sword attack, although I can see the magic attack. And also I realized that these files needed to be split up to be easier to work on later, hopefully. Alright, so we now have the code organized into 3 files, which is great. So I'll have to rename the main file, but no worries. So now it'll be an index.html, which is kind of just how this is like the container that we need to hold all of the game. We have style.css, which handles pretty much all the colors, all the shapes of things, and then game.js, which contains all the like logic. I just realized I'm kind of just reading out loud what it's already telling you and me. Of course, it's just doing a great job, and I can't even talk fast enough to explain it, but it's already showing it. So I think it's done with the index, or the index.html, so I'll copy that over, and I'm going to close chalice.html. I'm just going to create a new file here, paste in oh yeah, it's /HTML, so it's done with that. I'm going to hit Command Save, Command S, and make this index.html. And that's just the default name for HTML files. Next we have our style.css. This is actually a lot shorter than I thought it would be. If you are working with multiple files, make sure that your file structure is all correct. Since the AI is spitting these out without a file system, it might not know that you have, let's say, style.css in a certain other folder. So just make sure that those files are all correctly organized. Generally, I'll just have all the files in the same folder, but especially when you start using assets like images, the filing needs to be a little bit more strict than just keeping everything in one folder. So we have style.css here, which I already did that one. And then, oh, okay, and it's done thinking, so this game.js is done. I'll hit Command N to make a new file. Save this as game.js because that's what Gemini said the file name was. It links in the HTML to a game.js, so this has to be called game.js. Alright, so I have that saved, and now I'm going to go to my index.html, and let's just make a archive. I'm going to put the original chalice.html in there. That's my old file for the first iteration of this. Let's see the new index.html. Alright, so this is pretty interesting. It's switched to a different kind of look here. I can't help but notice my character does not actually glow, but that's okay. We do in fact have the sword here. We also have the magic. So I'll talk to Al again. What's up? Awesome. So he gave me the sword, and now I have a different one. Let's try and go off the map here. Oh wow, there is a blue glow. It's like behind the background. Interesting. I can't help but notice that I still cannot exit this first room. Do I have to like push this block or something? Alright, so we have a good thing going here. I'm going to check and see if this is an accident or not. So I'm saying it still seems like the character cannot exit the first room by pushing up against the walls. So I'm trying to explain my problem. And while I'm at it, let's take a look at the inspector, like I mentioned in that first Pong thing. So I'll right-click this, hit Inspect. We can look at the console. There's no errors. So good job, Gemini. It's broken just as you intended, I guess. So I called it out about the fact that I couldn't exit the first room by pushing up against the walls, and it has conceded that that is true. So sometimes you just have to explain, hey, this isn't working how it was supposed to, and Gemini will, or whatever AI, pretty much all of them, will very cordially say, you know what, you're right. So just as I was worried about, now it's spitting out the entire code again. So once we get into a little bit more detail here, I am going to do another iteration that will really, I think, kind of bring this all together. And basically, I'm getting this Gemini to set something up. Then I'll have another Gemini finish the job. And you can kind of keep doing that and keep getting more and more polish added. But you just need to be sure that you explain to each Gemini what it is you're trying to do, who it is they are, and what the ideal ending solution would be. And if it makes a mistake, tell it, and it'll fix it. Sometimes it's not making a mistake and you're making a mistake. It's a weird feeling. All right, in the meantime, let's check this out some more. So I can shoot, and I think that's about all that the player can do, is just kind of walk around, use the sword, aka this giant square, and and dodge, that's right. Oh, and it has like a transparent effect when you dodge. That's really cool. Okay. So we finally have our new game data. Go in game.js, paste this new one, which is half the length, which is a little concerning. Let's hope that that's all good. Refresh this guy. Talk to Al again. All right, he gave us the sword. Oh my God. All right. So I'm noticing one thing is that it doesn't actually save. Another thing is that it seems like I can't get through this new area here. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to break these walls. I don't think so. Yeah. But we do have some nasty enemies here. All right. It's looking good though. And it's worth noting that these other rooms actually have existed this whole time. But since I wasn't able to exit that first room, we couldn't even see them. But there are, in fact, other things here. So I'm going to go from here to the next iteration of the game. Granted, it's very broken. There's lots of things that could be improved. It seems like I just can't even get through this area here. Who knows what the next rooms look like, but I want to get this working in the next probably 20 or 30 minutes. So we have our initial version here. It's looking good. I love it. Let's continue. So we have our code. So I'm going to save all of this and close all of them. And I'm going to make this a folder called Chalice V1. It's really important to keep bookmarks of your various versions of the file, because there are times where you might be asking AI to do this or that, and you're in over your head and you don't know it, or the AI is in over its head, and things can start to fall apart. So it's really important that you keep your file, files bookmarked and named. So maybe every 1 or 2 iterations, just bookmark all those files, save them. I'll even sometimes just compress the whole file so that I know that's not my working version. So I have Chalice version 1, which is super broken. Let's go back to Gemini. So now I have all this files, and basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to now tell Gemini to pass this on to another instance of Gemini. And I like to do this, number one, because there's less chance of forgetting. Number two, I don't expect it to remember anything because it's a brand new version of Gemini, so I am more aware of the fact that it hasn't seen this project before. And then the third is just sometimes there will be better outcomes from different prompts. I have had certain Geminis prompt other ones that actually do a better job than I ever could. I've also had, maybe I was lazy in my initial prompt, then the Gemini gives a lazy prompt to its next in line, and it can get messy. So make sure that you're always taking a lot of care with your prompts. So I'm going to, at the end of this one, I'm going to say thank you. Don't need to do that. It's apparently a waste of energy, but I do that anyway. Now, please bookmark, or no, I won't say bookmark. Now I need your help. And let's just go back to that Notepad app that we already built. I'll add a new note. This one is called Gemini Pass Off 1. All right. Thank you. Now I need your help prompting the next Gemini instance who will be helping me with this game. I need your help to do the following. Actually, I'm not going to say that. I already said I needed help. All right. Please prompt it to do the... Please include the following in your prompt. One, define its identity as a senior game developer, just like yourself. Explain its lifetimes of experience as a game dev and how it has all led to this project. 2. Explain the inner workings and grander vision of the game. Spare no expense explaining the details, the difficulties and issues we've overcome in the process, and any ideas for further development. 3. Encourage the new Gemini to expand on our concept while remaining in the confines of JS, HTML, CSS, local, web page, game. 4. Encourage the new Gemini to further expand the gameplay, such as adding leveling systems, more characters, NPC walking routes, and more RPG-like elements. Be sure to think these over and present them in a detailed and well-constructed fashion. So here I'm kind of telling it to do what I'm not doing, but let's not talk about that. I think this about does it. So I'm going to, oh, and I'll leave on the note of the new Gemini instance will be in charge of finishing this game. So make them super smart and creative in the game world. Okay, now I have my prompt. I'm going to ask Gemini to write this out. Great. So now this one is programming in. It looks like a little bit of kind of a grandiose vision. It's being really dramatic about how good at game development this next Gemini instance will be. And I'm not certain that that improves its execution, but it could. So I'm copying all of this. And now we start a new Gemini instance. I'm going to add files, import code, upload a folder, and that folder will be my game stream chalice v1. And now I'll paste in that prompt. So now I've given this new Gemini the chalice v1 folder, as well as the prompt that the other Gemini gave it. So this is kind of the third generation. The first generation of Gemini did the initial prompt for the one I just worked with. I had it do an expanded prompt. Then I added a new one. The new one built v1. Now I'm copying this. And I'm not sure I like the personality of this new Gemini. It's being a little, like, theatrical, but that's okay. Okay, so it has come up with just an extremely ambitious set of features here. I'm just going to run with it. So they've come up with all these ideas. It has like a very unique personality for some reason. Let's go. So I'm going to say, okay, this game plan sounds great. Please list out all of the files you will be making for this project in the order you will be working on them. Then I will ask you for full files, one at a time. And this might not be necessary, but in my other projects, I have noticed that it's best to just ask for the code one piece at a time so that you can catch any weirdness. This one's personality is really something else. Okay, so it looks like we have a plan here. We're going to update game.js, then index So I'm just going to copy these guys and paste it into my Notepad. V2 roadmap. I'll paste that in here. And so now we have just a list that I can refer to of what it wanted to update. So game.js, index, and then the CSS file. I'm actually going to ask it to break up the JS. So I asked it, actually, can you break up the JS into multiple files so that we can narrow down any bugs? You don't have to do this, but this is what I am doing just to try to compartmentalize, and hopefully in the future, if I need to ask it to fix something, I'll be able to say fix that thing in this smaller piece of code rather than rewrite the entire game from scratch because there's a typo. This Gemini is too theatrical, man. Okay. Now we have a little bit better of a breakdown of all of our files, a little bit longer of a list. So I'll paste that. So we're going to start with utils.js. Perfect. Start with utils.js. And almost certainly there will be some kind of bug at the end of this, but that's totally okay. In the meantime, I'm going to walk around the previous version of the game a bit. So you can see that all the enemies are in fact like attracted to the player, and we've got bubbles, the blue guys, and I think those are wolves, the gray rectangles. And the wolves are very fast, and I'm a little bit worried about actually being able to survive this once the walls are down. But thankfully, none of them can get me right now because I can't actually escape the first area. The glow is really nice. I might ask for a little style update before we end here. Alright, so we have utils.js. So I'm going to make a new file, save it, and I'll make a new folder for this one called vo2. And this is utils.js. And the cool thing about Cursor is it'll usually know what type of file you're trying to save. Alright. Perfect. So we have utils. The next is config. So I'm saying next, the full config file, please. Well, I didn't say please, but that'd be a waste of time. And the reason I wrote these down is because I have worked with some AIs that will give me an ordered list of operations that they're going to do, and then they start to switch up those operations eventually. So I like to have my own little list here so that I know where we're at, because while AI can write a ton of code really well, for some reason it can get hung up on these little things. So now I'm saving the config.js that it just created in the same folder. And next it says entities.js is the next one. And let's look at this and make sure that it's right. Yes, entities.js. Yes. Please provide the full entities.js file. And this AI is really funny, so it's just, yeah. It's saying things like, we now define the very substance of the world. The tools are forged. I await your command. Very funny. Very funny AI. I don't know if I usually come across them being so, I don't know, not robotic. Okay, now we have entities.js. So I'm going to just make a new file, paste in the new code, hit Command Save, entities.js. Make sure you save those file names right, because if you don't, it will not be calling a huge chunk of your code. Alright, so it says now we do main.js. Let me double check. Main.js is right. Alright. And now we have it providing the main.js, which will probably be quite a bit. But in the meantime, let's look back at what we've done so far. In the archive, we have chalice.html. So this was the first iteration. You can walk around. You can talk to Al and get your sword. You can't leave the first room. And then we have Chalice v1, really a bookmark in our development process here. Chalice v1. Ew. It looked cooler before. I don't know what happened with the display, but I guess let's take it. So in this one, we can walk around a bit more. Can't really get through this wall. Main.js, and then we will just need index and style. Alright, we're done with main.js. And it is correct to say next we need index.html. And so now it'll provide that, and then we just need style.css, and that will finish the new iteration of the game. From there, I will probably do a little bit of bug fixing, but we are about to the end of this process. So I have refactored code for index.html. Again, just saving this in the same folder. Okay, the full style.css, please. And so the real core of this is just opening up Cursor, saving your files, opening them in your browser, seeing how they work, telling Gemini what broke, and just keep that cycle going until you get something good. Or you can always start a new instance also. So here's style.css, and this is the final part of this. So I'm going to paste this in here, call this style.css, and I'm going to make sure that index.html has links to all of it. Yes, it does have links to style as well as the other codes. Okay, so now let's try this. So in VO2, I'm going to open up my index.html, which is the main file. And this is the new version. I'm happy to see that my glow is correct. I have my little sword. I have my magic. I'll talk to Al again. Awesome. And now I have a better sword. Oh my god, this room with the wolves is terrifying. Okay, so right off the bat, it looks like I'm still not able to get through here, so this is a game-breaking issue. I am going to complain about this to Gemini. Alright, so I've said in the second room the player cannot proceed due to green blocks. Please review the world layout and make sure the player has a clear path to the finish. And I know that's not very fun if it's just a straight line to the finish, but I do need to clarify that certain things will not let me through. And the vibe of this AI is too much. The very randomness that was intended to make the woods feel natural has instead created an impassable barrier. A master developer admits their mistakes and refines their work. The architect is correct to point this out. It's so over the top with this shit. Okay, so we have a new config.js, and I think that's it. And so this is a great example. This config.js is very short. Whereas before I was having to revise the entire code, now we have these little pieces that can be quickly revised piece by piece to get through any bugs. So config.js, I will select all of this and paste in the new one, save that, and then I'll do a Command-Shift-R to refresh the page and also clear the cache. And so now we've got this guy. I could talk to Al, and he gives me the sword. I'll go up here. I still can't get through. I'm kind of glad to see that just because I'm scared of all these enemies that get magnetized to me. But this is not great for our hero, and he's not going to get very far this way. So let's try this again. Please rethink how the player goes through the different screens and make sure that the player can only get through intended doorways once through a door. Do not impede the player with impassable enclosures. Alright, so I have a pretty big ask here. I'm asking it to kind of change something key in the game, which is how the player goes between screens. Right now, the player can just basically go like diagonally and get caught. And so you can see if I go at this diagonally, I can like end up inside the wall, which is not very good. Not to mention the fact that I can't get through this little walkway. But spatial awareness is something that is very difficult for AI. So ideally, I would have a map maybe. Maybe I would have drawn a map of this place beforehand and then shown it. Because while it's obvious when you walk in, it's obvious to a human that I can't get out of this 2-block space. It's not so obvious to an AI. And honestly, let me see here. I thought maybe there was a layout area that I could mess with, but I'm not so sure it's that easy. Let's see what Gemini has to say. So it looks like we're going to change config and main. And we're closing in on 2 hours here, so hopefully this works out. So here's the new config. God, that's huge. Okay. And it looks like it's done thinking, so let's get that other one. Alright, and this is the new main.js. So we got an updated config and an updated main. And let me make sure I copied the right one. Here's config. Okay. So now here we are at the beginning. Talk to this guy. Got my sword. Oh god. Now we have some real game stuff going on here. Oh no. I forget what the wolves, I forget what I even said these guys are weak against. Oh man. Maybe I can get Gemini to just play the game for me, because I am ass at this. Okay, so I barely survived. I did ask for Gemini to let my health regenerate. That is happening, but if I wait for that, my game development time will be up. So I'm just going to try and pull these guys one at a time. Yeah. Oh man. That one wolf is what's really scaring me. Oh, he sees me. Luckily the AI isn't super good. Thankfully AI can't make super strong AI yet. But this is good enough really. Alright, I'm going to just snatch that up and run out of here. Oh yeah, I can roll too, so I'll do that. Oh, no. I think I kind of broke it. Oh man. Okay, so, I mean, first of all, it's looking a lot better. I'm not okay, it didn't save any of that. Oh wow, we have some crazy glitches going on. Alright, I'm going to try to run through this one more time, and if this doesn't work, I'm going to ask for another important development tool, which is just like ways to cheat and get through this so that I can see what else is lacking in the game. Ow. There's definitely a strange thing that happens near the doorways now, but I guess it's better than the issues I was having before with the doorways. I also failed to give myself any sort of leveling system. That would have really helped. If I could like beat up some of these guys and then level up, that would really help me out. Or if I could remember what's strong against wolves. But okay, so we all, oh my gosh. And I can see that the wolves turn red when they bite, which is interesting. Oh my gosh. Where am I? What? Okay, I don't know what that room is, but I don't want to be in it. Oh, I can't escape. Please let me out of here. Oh, this room's worse. Okay. What are these white things? So crazy. Oh my gosh, that's a lot of wizards. Huh. When I try to leave that way, it seems like it doesn't want me to. I'm not sure what's up with that. Oh, and I'm definitely getting HP for killing these guys, because I think I was supposed to start with like 20 HP. Okay. So, yeah, I'm not really sure why it seems like the next area is really glitching out pretty bad. But as you can see, I mean, you know, to a certain extent, this is getting pretty good. And after playing a bit, I'm starting to think, you know, maybe there should be a reward for beating a whole room. Or like what's the point of these things? I don't really know why they put these glowy orbs here. I guess I could look in the code and see what the heck the orbs are, but I'm kind of enjoying discovering this thing that I thought I made, but now it's like it's more Gemini's than mine, and it's kind of fun to run around in here. Oh no, not the dog. Okay. Unfortunately, it looks like while... Oh no. Oh, and I'm back to level 1. Alright. Well, I am kind of curious what's up with that weird glitchiness that happens near the doors. I can kind of see every room for a split second. I'm gonna try to do a little bit more here. So this is working really well, but so I'm complaining about the doorways. This works better, but the doorways are still super glitchy. Please make sure that each area has an escape route, and also that if the player kills all the enemies in a room, they get an XP bonus, which I'm not going to define, and the enemies don't come back for, let's say, 3 minutes. What files do you have to revise to add this? And so now it's thinking. I'm going to take a really quick break here, but I will be right back. Alright, I just needed some pre-workout, but now I'm ready to continue. So, we got some response here. It says it needs to upgrade config and main. please update the full config first. And make sure you always ask for full files so that Gemini doesn't, or your AI, whatever it is, doesn't accidentally just omit parts. Because when your code starts to get longer, it will start to say things like, this area remains the same, which is fine, and you can absolutely copy and paste around that. But in my experience, with any larger bit of code, that takes much longer than just asking Gemini for the whole thing. All right, so first we have config. And then secondly, I need to ask for main. All right, and well, I guess I'm in too deep with this one, but after I update this, I am going to add a, I'll add like a bookmark. I'll compress the folder just so that I have a semi-working version to go back to if things spiral out of control. Okay, so it's updating main.js, and I think what I'm going to do here is we're about 6 minutes away from 2 hours, and I said I'd vibe code a game in 2 hours, so I'm going to copy this main.js, I'm going to paste it in here. It's a bit shorter than it used to be, but I'm going to ignore that. It's still a very long bit of code. Wow. Okay. The last thing I'm going to do is one more thing. Can we add some deeper visual styling in the form of gradient based shaders and particle effects on running and attacking. And I think this will add that final layer of polish that'll really just make this feel closer to a finished game. I didn't say vibe code a finished game in 2 hours, but I would like it to look a little nicer than it does. All right, so we do have to update a lot of these. I'm gonna add a new note, and I'll bookmark the current VO2 as, compress that, call that chalice v2. And then also I'm going to rename this one chalice v3 because now we're in v3 mode. Okay, so new note, I'll paste in here. I need to copy from here, paste. There we go. So last round of revisions, let's go. All right, so first we're going to do utils. So it gave me a rundown. It'll do utils.js for the core drawing functions like draw a rectangle with border, to accept and render gradients instead of just solid colors. Then it's going to update main.js to house the new particle engine. So I added a request for particle effects. So here's the new utils. And I did mess this up a little bit because I did not save, or when I compressed and renamed the file, I still had all of these open. That's not a great practice. Alright, so utils.js is updated. And according to this, the next thing to update is main.js. In general, I'd say it's best not to start adding things like particle effects and shaders to your game until the core gameplay is all set up, because people want a fun game, not just a bunch of particles and a broken game. But that might just be what we get here. I'm sorry to say we are at 58 minutes and a half, so I don't think that we're going to get through all these updates in time, but it's okay. I want a good few minutes to play this game once it's all finished, so we are going to go a little over 2 hours. Should have named it Vibe Code a Game in 2 hours and 14 minutes and 32 seconds, but what are you going to do? Alright, so we got the new main.js. I'm going to just paste that in here. The next thing it needs is entities.js. So in general, a really good loop to kind of prompt AI in, especially with programming, is to take your concept, flesh it out as best as you can, and then ask an AI to kind of functionally explain it. So instead of me saying this should lose 2 HP at this point and then lose 2 HP at that point and gain 2 HP at that point, I can say all that and then give it to an AI who will actually kind of organize that a little better. Then, once it's nicely organized, you can pass it off to another AI who's a programming expert, and then that one can take those excellent rules and actually turn them into code. So here's entities, and so I'm just going to open up entities, paste the new one in there, and now we are at 2 hours. Oh my god. At exactly 2 hours, I got a hair on my tongue. At exactly 2 hours, I got a hair on my tongue, and we've got our final version of the Chalice of Lumina. I got to open it from the right directory, though. Okay, here it is. So we've got the gradient now, which I could take it or leave it. My friend Al is missing. Not great. I have a very cool little spray of stuff. There are definitely some things not working so great. But let's just see. Oh yeah. Yeah, this is... something got lost here. So let's inspect and see if there's actually any errors. I wish there were. Oh yes, look at that. There are some errors. So I'll just copy a couple of these. It's the same one over and over. Maybe I'll back off of that wall a little bit. No, I need to hit the wall. Gemini is going to hear about this. So as I did before, I'm just going to say, hey, looks like it broke. So I gave an error code. It is a lot of the same one. And let's see what it has to say about this. While it is a shame that the exactly 2-hour mark one broke, I gotta say it's done better than I thought it would. So it looks like this was a bug in main.js. I'm still kind of sad because I think my friend Al is gone, and he gives you a good sword, so that is kind of a shame. But let's give it a chance. One more main.js update. Okay, I see this also is a bit of an issue. So while this is being fixed, I do notice that entities.js is actually missing quite a bit. So I'm going to ask it to fix that as well. And I think the rest of these don't have any placeholder text. Oh yeah, it does. Alright, let's see. Does this still contain placeholder text? No, I don't think so. Okay. Entities definitely did. This one does not. Please provide entities.js in full. And the previous kind of abridged one was 240 lines. So hopefully this one is a little longer than that. Still working on it. Okay, it's done. Here we go. So I'll paste that into entities.js. It is 100 lines longer. That's looking a lot better. And Al is back. What's up? Looks like my character barks. Kind of weird. Thank you for the sword. Oh god, the dogs. Oh no, the dogs. I guess dying just crashes the game now. No, I'm not going out like that. Okay. And let me make sure that attack is still the same. Z, X, E, and space. The heck? What does space do? Oh yeah, it's for dodging. Well, that doesn't seem to work anymore. Alright, so we got dog here. kind of snipe these guys, which is awesome. Uh-oh. I can't. It seems like the particles have replaced my sword. Not good. I'm just going to avoid everything. Snatch up the key. Oh yeah, new area unlocked. Okay. What's up, villager? Me too, man. What's Bev got to say? Ew. Oh, yes. Better staff. Alright, so we're at 2 minutes and 2 hours and 8 minutes in. You've seen several different areas of this map. We've also got multiple characters, little stories. I love this villager talking about the wolf in the woods. Like, I didn't ask for any of that. All I said is that there are wolves. Then Gemini made the woods. Gemini made the villager, gave him something to say. Oh god, these dogs though, they really are bad news. One interesting thing is I'm not really sure what's up with, like, there was a portal before that kind of like portaled me somewhere. And it's a shame that my sword seems to not work. That's kind of, I mean, if it was Link, that's his whole thing. So, really do need the sword to work. I think maybe that the brown block is the portal, so I'm going to try and go in there. I don't know why my sword turned into just like barking, but I guess that's my life now, is I can just bark. I wonder if you can even see that on the video. Alright. I will say the projectiles are a little OP because I can hit someone without them even getting close to me. So that's something I could work on later. Maybe fix that a little bit. But this is a great starting point. And for 2 hours, it's like crazy to have this type of progress in 2 hours. And I mean, this is to say nothing of like adding assets, you know, more story. I'd be happy to just walk around a little village full of people telling stories. Oh, yes. Here's the portal. That's so cool. I saw that Gemini mentioned that there was a portal at some point. I thought it was a glitch, but there is indeed a portal, and it sucks. Holy shit. Okay. The wizards are not good at all. I don't like them. But if I can beat all of these guys, I'll get the XP bonus for clearing out the room. Oh, no. Oh, no. I can't use the sword. I can only bark. If the wizards could only bark, they'd be done for. Okay. Almost done here. Just a couple more wizards. Oh shit. Oh no. Okay, this is so... Alright, well, I guess that about does it for the stream. As you can see, I did make a game with Gemini in about 2 hours. I'm not good enough at the game to beat it, and I haven't even explored the whole place, but I'd say this is a pretty special time to be alive and to be trying to make fun little games, software, whatever. I definitely recommend trying it. It's as easy as just opening up an LLM, asking it for that HTML, CSS, JS combo, At least that's how I do it. Paste that thing into a text editor or a program that can save text files. Open it as an HTML file, and you can make the chalice of Lumina. All right, that's it. Thank you.